You check into Paris, Las Vegas, set your laptop on the desk to finish some work, and reach for an outlet. It's full. So you unplug one cord, just one, to charge your computer. 3 days later, at checkout, there's a mysterious $50 charge on your bill. When you ask what it's for, the front desk pulls out a photo. They keep it ready because you're not the first, showing a tiny sign buried in fine print warning that unplugging the minibar tray costs $50. And here's the part that should make you furious. They tell you they can't remove the charge. It's handled by a third party. This isn't some isolated mistake. This is the new Vegas playbook. And after years of tracking how casinos have systematically destroyed what made this city great, I can tell you, this $50 cord unplugging scandal at Paris, Las Vegas is just the tip of an iceberg that's sinking the entire tourism industry. The numbers don't lie. Visitor arrivals crashed 11.3% this past June alone, one of the steepest monthly drops in Vegas history outside of a crisis. But casino executives? They saw this coming and raised fees anyway, twice in 2024. Let me take you inside what's really happening, because what started as resort fees for Wi-Fi has mutated into something far more sinister. A web of hidden charges so absurd, so calculated, that tourists are literally choosing to sleep in their cars rather than pay them. The woman who got hit with that $50 charge? She wasn't trying to game the system. Her adult daughter needed to work on a presentation. The only desk in the room housed the minibar. When she plugged in her laptop, she had no idea she'd just triggered a trap that Paris, Las Vegas had set for hundreds of guests before her. Think about the psychology of this for a moment. Someone at Caesars Entertainment, because Paris is owned by them, sat in a boardroom and decided that a guest using an electrical outlet was worth a $50 penalty. Not a warning, not a polite note. A financial punishment buried in print so small you'd need a magnifying glass to read it, placed on the opposite side of the desk from the outlet itself. And it gets worse. When confronted, the front desk agent had the photo ready at her fingertips. This wasn't a one-time occurrence they were figuring out. This was a revenue stream they'd optimized. They'd photographed the tiny warning sign, added it to the training manual, and instructed staff to refuse refunds because it was a third-party fee, a term that conveniently shields the casino from any accountability while they pocket the money. But that's just one fee. At the same property, guests discovered they were being charged for minibar sensors that triggered when you simply opened the door, not even touching anything inside. One visitor reported a $69 charge that turned into a $100 investigation fee when they tried to dispute it. Let that sink in. They charged him more money to investigate why they were incorrectly charging him money. Meanwhile, at the Flamingo, another Caesars property, guests checking in 2 hours early faced a $60 fee displayed on a digital kiosk. No human discretion, no negotiation. Just an algorithm extracting maximum profit from your exhaustion after a cross-country flight. This is what hospitality has become. My sources inside the casino industry confirm what the official numbers are starting to show. This fee obsession is gutting Vegas tourism. June 2025 saw visitor numbers plummet to 3.1 million, down from 3.5 million the year before. That's 400,000 missing tourists in a single month. Hotel occupancy crashed to 78.7%, the lowest level since August of 2022, right when everyone thought Vegas had recovered from the pandemic. But here's what makes this data particularly damning. MGM and Caesars raised resort fees twice in 2024, first in January, then again in December. MGM's luxury properties, Bellagio, Aria, Cosmopolitan, hit $55 per night. Even budget properties like Excalibur jumped $8 to reach $45 daily. Resorts World followed suit in March 2025, matching that $55 price point. These aren't small amounts. When you factor in Nevada taxes, that $55 resort fee becomes over $60 per night. For a 4-night stay, you're paying $240 in fees alone before you've gambled a single dollar, eaten a single meal, or seen a single show. And unlike the advertised room rate, these fees used to be hidden until checkout. Past tense because in May 2025, the Federal Trade Commission finally banned that practice. According to the Nevada Gaming Control Board, the impact is measurable. Gaming revenue statewide fell 2.2% year over year. Revenue per available room, a key industry metric, dropped 13.8% in June alone. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the entity responsible for bringing tourists to Nevada, projects visitor volume will decline 5.8% in 2025 and another 6.9% in 2026. Let me translate those projections. The people whose job is to promote Vegas are forecasting that Vegas will keep shrinking. They're not even pretending the city can recover under the current model. So who's responsible? Let me introduce you to the executives who built this disaster. Bill Hornbuckle, CEO of MGM Resorts. After watching his company's Las Vegas properties hemorrhage $130 million in revenue during the third quarter of 2025, he finally admitted in an earnings call, "Shame on us." He specifically called out the $26 bottle of water and the $12 Starbucks coffee at Excalibur. His exact words, "We should have been more sensitive to the overall experience." He went on to say, MGM lost control of the narrative over the summer. Lost control of the narrative. Not, we were wrong to price gouge our customers. Not, we apologize for treating tourists like walking ATMs. They lost control of the story. That's corporate speak for, we got caught, and now it's affecting our stock price. But before you think Hornbuckle had some moral awakening, remember, MGM raised those resort fees in December 2024, just 10 months before this supposed epiphany. They knew exactly what they were doing. They watched visitor numbers falling month after month and chose to squeeze harder rather than ease up. Because here's what casino executives understand that visitors don't. A tourist who already paid for their flight and booked their room is a captive customer. They'll pay the $50 cord fee. They'll pay the $60 early check-in. They'll pay the 4.85% concession fee that magically appears on restaurant bills. They'll pay because they're already there. The strategy isn't sustainable, the data proves that. But it was incredibly profitable while it lasted. And Hornbuckle's "shame on us" moment only came after MGM's Las Vegas earnings dropped from $731 million to $601 million quarter over quarter. Funny how conscience awakens when revenue collapses. Tom Reeg at Caesars Entertainment stayed quieter, but his properties led the pack in creative fee extraction. That $50 cord unplugging charge? That's innovation under his watch. The $100 investigation fee? Caesars property? The $60 early check-in kiosk? Another Caesars masterpiece. Here's where the damage spreads beyond your wallet and into the entire Nevada economy. Tourism generates $85.2 billion in total economic impact for Southern Nevada. That's not just casino profits. That's jobs, wages, taxes, and the entire ecosystem built around visitors, and it's crumbling. The industry directly employs 252,610 workers in Southern Nevada. That represents 22.6% of the entire regional workforce. When visitor numbers drop 7.3% in 6 months, those aren't just statistics on a spreadsheet. Those are real people watching their tips dry up, their hours get cut, their jobs disappear. Cocktail servers, housekeepers, dealers, valets, restaurant workers. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority is projecting a 5% drop in room tax revenue through 2026, which means less money for marketing the city, less money for infrastructure, and a downward spiral that feeds itself. And it gets worse. International tourism has collapsed. Canadian visitors, historically the largest international market for Vegas, are down 33% from Air Canada alone. WestJet dropped 31%. Flair Airlines plummeted 62%. These are Vegas's best customers, the ones who used to come multiple times per year, and they're staying home. Why? Because even Canadians who deal with currency exchange rates that already make everything more expensive looked at Vegas prices and said absolutely not. The head of Las Vegas's Culinary Workers Union, representing 60,000 hospitality employees from 178 countries, told reporters that members are increasingly nervous. Not just about immigration policies or tariffs, but about the fundamental economics of working in a city where tourists are vanishing. When tips dry up, and they are drying up, workers who depend on them face financial devastation. One tattoo artist on the Strip reported his income dropped from up to $6,000 per month to barely scraping by, with Canadians who used to make up 30% of his clientele now completely gone. Small businesses are being crushed. The mom-and-pop operations that cater to tourists, off-strip restaurants, souvenir shops, tour operators, they don't have MGM's billions in reserves. They can't weather months of 7 to 11% declines in visitor volume. Some are already closing, more will follow. Meanwhile, casino executives sit in boardrooms making decisions that prioritize quarterly earnings over long-term sustainability. They raised fees because they could. They implemented sensor-based minibar charges because technology made it possible. They turned every interaction into a potential revenue extraction because Wall Street rewards that behavior until it backfires. And now it's backfiring. But by the time the full consequences hit, those executives will have collected their bonuses, exercised their stock options, and moved on to destroy some other industry. The workers? They'll still be in Vegas wondering where their livelihoods went. Want to know what Vegas used to be? Let's go back to 2011. Gary Loveman, then CEO of Caesars Entertainment, made a public promise. We are taking a position that we are not going to be charging our customers resort fees. It's our view that for our portfolio, it's best to position ourselves as not charging our guests resort fees. That lasted exactly as long as it took for MGM to prove resort fees were profitable. Then Caesars followed. Then everyone followed. And that promise became a punchline. But here's what's fascinating. Some properties are now reversing course. Resorts World and Sahara temporarily eliminated resort fees and offered free parking through late summer and fall 2025. They're not doing this out of kindness. They're doing it because occupancy rates are so bad, they need something to distinguish themselves. The Venetian and Palazzo started offering 33% off room rates with dining credits. Downtown properties dropped nightly rates by up to 60% in some cases. These aren't signs of a healthy market. These are signs of panic. When properties that raised fees twice in 1 year are now slashing prices and eliminating the very fees they claimed were necessary to maintain competitiveness, that tells you everything you need to know about how badly they miscalculated. Meanwhile, tribal casinos in other states are watching this disaster unfold and advertising themselves as the value alternative. No resort fees, no parking fees, no minibar sensors, just old-fashioned hospitality where the goal is to make you want to come back, not to extract every possible dollar before you escape. Vegas used to compete on experience. Now it competes on who can squeeze tourists the least. That's not a business model. That's a death spiral. So here's what actually happened. In May 2025, the Federal Trade Commission finally stepped in with new regulations banning hidden fees. Hotels now have to show the full price up front, resort fees included, when advertising rates. The rule doesn't eliminate the fees. It just forces casinos to be honest about them before you book. It's a start. But let's be clear about what this rule really means. It took a federal agency threatening $50,000 fines per violation to force Vegas casinos to practice basic transparency. That's how deep the rot goes. The damage, though, was already done. Visitors saw those $50 cord unplugging charges go viral. They read about the $60 early check-in fees and the minibar sensor scams. They did the math on $55 per night resort fees, plus taxes, plus parking, plus the 4.85% concession charges on every meal. And they made a rational economic decision. Vegas isn't worth it anymore. Casino executives will claim they've price-corrected. They'll point to those temporary fee eliminations and discount packages as proof they're listening. But here's what my sources inside the industry tell me. The second visitor numbers stabilize, those fees are coming right back. Because Wall Street doesn't reward restraint. It rewards quarterly growth. And quarterly growth comes from raising prices until customers finally revolt. The question isn't whether Vegas can recover. It's whether Vegas wants to recover. Because recovery means returning to the fundamentals that built this city, making people feel valued instead of victimized, giving them a reason to come back instead of a reason to warn their friends to stay away. Right now, Vegas is getting exactly what it deserves: empty hotel rooms and ghost town casinos. The real victims are the workers whose lives depend on an industry that their bosses just destroyed through greed. What hidden fee has shocked you most in Vegas? Drop your story in the comments. Let's expose every one of these scams together. And if you want to see how deep the casino corruption really goes, hit subscribe. Next video, I'm revealing the employee testimonials that prove this fee obsession is even worse than anyone realizes.